Nobody taught us how to be angry in a healthy way. Nobody taught us that. They taught us that anger is shameful. This is the time when I actually lost all my family members right in front of my eyes. It was actually in Emirates Road, and we were going in for Ras Al Khaimah.
Who was in the car?
Hanan Al-Sammak,
a well-known Theta healer, author,
entrepreneur,
and self-development expert. Hannah trained more than 65,000 managers across the region.
I needed to learn more just so I can prove myself to these people. And that's why after a while, after maybe in 2020, this is when it hit me. I was doing all this. Yes, it was for me, self-fulfillment, but I'd never really felt fulfilled.
Did people look at you differently after you were like qualified or certified by these institutions?
They did actually. But did I look at myself differently? That was the question. I was actually diagnosed in that year with severe depression. Couldn't get out of bed. I felt numb. I felt sick. My chest was paining. And I just can't really comprehend the pain. What should I be sad for COVID? Should I be sad for the world? My parents are separated. My business, where's the money? How am I gonna survive? It was happening at the same time I was healing. I was helping other people and becoming their channel as well. I don't want to disappoint people who are going through therapy, but it's actually a very
Hanan Al-Sammak, thank you so much for joining Zeno Talks.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute honor to have you here with me. You and I have known each other for so long, since your days of your YouTube videos in 2014. You're a motivational speaker, you're a public speaker, you're a moderator, MC. You've done it all. And one of the things I have to say as well is I love your family.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful family. I love your parents. You yourself you're a combination of many things together. And again, even when I met your parents, I understand why you're like this wonderful gem from the UAE and a hybrid of Kuwait as well, right? So you're half Kuwait and half UAE, which is amazing. And I think you bring something very special to a lot of like young women that want to get out there and grow and be part of like something bigger than just themselves. And that's what you've done. So tell us a little bit about your journey in this whole space of like public speaking and becoming a public figure, when a lot of people sort of like shied out from a very young age and very early time.
Thank you for having me, Omar. This is amazing. I'm really excited to be here. I think when I started, I didn't really mean for any of this to happen. It started when I graduated from AUD. And then I was unemployed for 2 years. So I was looking for a job. Until in that time, I wanted to spend time doing something useful because I was, comparing myself to other students. Why am I not getting the job I want? What's wrong with me? I studied. I was an A student. And so I started volunteering, working with the elderly and working with children. This is where I found like, this actually works for me. I love being around people. And so I just went back home and shared my story through YouTube. And this is when it actually started happening. People started watching my episodes, asking me questions about how to change their mindset. What did you do? What happened? And so I figured I need to learn more. I need more knowledge. This is when I started, learning about the psychology and the human behavior and what success really means. And this is, ironically, this is when I got the job. When I started actually utilizing my time doing things that are away from, pursuing the job. And so I got the job, but I also felt connected to writing, to being around people, to being on YouTube, to creating content. This is when I decided that I wanted to quit my job after 2 years of corporate. And obviously I was just 24. I was really young. My dad was against the idea in the beginning. You don't know anything about business. You don't know anything about training. How are you quitting your job? This is a stable salary. And I think this is the story with a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs.
And so I said, sorry to cut you off, but I was going to say, I think you and I, one of the challenges that we have, because being in the self-help, personal development field, when you're very young and you talk about this topic, there's a lot of pushback you get from people that are like, you're so young, what do you know about personal development and about like, and all that. So how did you address this kind of pushback also from the community?
This is actually that was my main struggle with the community. So when an organization calls me, for example, to teach and talk about well-being at the workplace, and I've heard one of the comments say like, "You got us a very young person. Like, what does she know about well-being?
Yeah.
What does she know about this?" So even though yes, I was working on my knowledge, I studied in Australia, I took a diploma in positive psychology. I always felt like I needed to learn more just so I can prove myself to these people. And that's why after a while, after maybe in 2020, this is when it hit me. Like I was doing all this. Yes, it was for me, self-fulfillment, but I'd never really felt fulfilled because I was coming from a place of fear, coming from a place of defending that I am good enough, that I want to bring something to the table. And in 2020, I figured I wasn't really doing it for myself, even though I succeeded in it, even though I managed to train more than 75,000 managers, employees in Dubai, in Kuwait, in Saudi, in Qatar, alhamdulillah, in Oman. But I still felt like something was off because I was doing it from a place of fear, not because I wanted to do it.
So, so when you went, like you said, I remember very clearly when you went to Australia and took that course in positive psychology, like, was it for yourself, or were you trying to sort of like just improve your resume so that you won't get that kind of pushback? Did people look at you differently after you were like qualified or certified by these institutions?
Definitely, they did. They did actually. But did I look at myself differently? That was the question. I did everything right on the checklist. I was certified. I became a life coach from the ICF. I did all that studying. And yes, I did gain people's respect because I was coming from a science background. I was saying things that are obviously credible and qualified. But at the same time, I felt like it was too much for me. It was heavy. The whole career of teaching and coaching, it was heavy for me, even though people were actually benefiting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, Hanan, one of the things that I wonder is there are some people, when they venture into this field of self-help or personal development, sometimes it comes from a place of growing up. They had like a tough childhood, whether it was at home or whether it was in the community. They felt sort of like ostracized, and they wanted to come out of this and try to become better, or they noticed a problem within the actual community, and they're like maybe because they saw depression rates, stress rates going up and everything else, and they want to address this. So what led you to focus on this? And why not anything else? You could have become a YouTube content creator on anything else. It could have been on food. Like we know a lot of like food content creators or bloggers, whatever. But you chose this. What is it?
I love your question. I think it was triggered because of an incident that happened to me in 2010. So I was in AUD, and the second year of college, we actually been through a very tragic car accident with my family.
Okay.
And so this is the time when I actually lost all my family members right in front of my eyes. It was in 2010. I was not even 19 years old yet. So I don't think I ever told you this story before. Yeah.
No.
So this incident kind of like made me feel, what am I doing with my life? I mean, who passed away was...
I'm sorry. You have to tell us what exactly happened. Where was this accident?
It was actually in Emirates Road, and we were going in for Ras Al Khaimah.
Who was in the car?
So we were two cars. My uncle was driving and my brother was driving. My mom was next to him and I was at the back seat.
Okay.
And I remember we had the BlackBerry back then.
Yeah.
So I was changing my status to on my way to Iraq. And I remember that very clearly because this was the moment when I actually looked up and I saw that my uncle's car was going to the right and to the left, and it flipped over like maybe 3-4 times to the other side of the road. And this is when it happened. We came out of the car and we saw, my family members laying on the floor. It was my uncle who just graduated from med school. He just graduated. He was 27 years old. And my uncle's wife, my uncle who was driving, and my grandma, and also the housemaid who was working with us. So everyone passed away in that car except my uncle who was driving and my cousins. They were very young. And just seeing that, I remember it was very hot. It was summer. It was in July on Thursday. And I remember I was wearing, it was just a sports outfit, but I felt really cold. Even though it was the summer, I felt really cold, like what is happening? And so we followed the ambulance, and this is when the doctor came and said that, they passed away, Allah yarhamhum. So right then at that moment, I felt like, I don't know what I want to do, but there's something more to life. I mean, seeing death in that young age, It was very traumatizing. Very, very traumatizing.
How old were you at the time?
I didn't even turn 19. So I was 18 and 10 months. So I went back to university and things have changed. The way I looked at the students changed. The way I looked at the studying changed. It's like, okay, I want to study, but what is this for? Like, I want to study and finish, but then I have to do something big because, I mean, death is right here.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened to my uncle. It can happen to me.
Yeah.
So I kind of turned that into a fuel.
Yeah.
It kind of fueled me until today. Death actually fuels me. Like, maybe this is my last podcast I'm doing, so let me do something meaningful. Let me impact people's lives.
And it gave you a whole different purpose. Like,
Yes.
you're like, okay, I have a bigger purpose, and I have to like serve the community and,
Yes.
and share this sense of awareness that I
Yeah.
got from this one major incident.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I honestly did not know. I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
mean, it
okay.
must be really
Allah
traumatizing. It's one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing when you hear about something, but then it's
Yeah.
another thing when you actually like witness it, and and you see that.
Yeah.
And I honestly did not know this.
Yeah,
So-
and it took a lot of time to overcome this actually, because in that age, Omar, I was just being there for my mother.
Yeah.
Because obviously she lost her mother, her brother as well in the car.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really feel the pain. I didn't sit with my pain. I was just being there for my mom for like a year or two, or maybe 4 or 5 years. I haven't really felt the grief. And then it hit me. I think everything came and it hit me when I actually hit rock bottom in 2020. This is when I realized that there's so many suppressed emotions that I haven't really dealt with. So everything came on the surface. And that's how my healing journey started.
So as part of your healing journey, you started creating content, but not only did you do the videos, you also published books.
Yes.
So tell us about them.
Okay, so after I graduated, like I said, I haven't found a job and everything. And then after YouTube, people started asking me so many questions and I started studying more. And I just started writing because I love writing. Even when I was in school, I always felt like English and Arabic were my favorite subjects because it involved writing and composition. And so I started writing my first book, published it, Hayatik, which is, you remember Hayatik?
Yeah.
It was technical steps to a happier, more fulfilling life.
Your Hayatik means your life. For those who
Hayatik
might
means
not know.
your life,
Yeah.
yes. And so the second book was The Sip of Happiness, because I realized that, okay, success is something, but also finding a sense of peace with success is something else. And then the third book in 2018 was Peace of Mind.
Yeah.
It's called Dalil Salam in Arabic. So
Yeah.
if we want to translate it, it's a peace manual or peace
Yeah,
handbook. It's like the combination of all. So you need a peace of mind and you need to feel a sense of joy and you also need to be successful.
Yeah.
Or according to what I think.
So, you did all this. And I think you and I were pretty active in a lot of different things,
Yes.
speaking opportunities and this and getting invited to God knows what. Then there was sort of like a shutdown, like you just disappeared.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, this is exactly when my healing journey started. So yes, I was very active. I was serving the community. I was putting myself out there. And I don't remember checking in with myself, like how I'm doing, how do I feel after coming on stage? Like I finished the speech and everyone is happy and everyone is, applauding the speech, but then come back to the hotel room and I feel numb. So I was doing a lot of things for other people, but not really checking in with myself. And in 2020, obviously when COVID hit, the world transformed and not just me. And so, of course, that took a toll on me. And my parents got separated in 2020. And I was going through a very personal issues. And of course, I lost my business for a while because, not everyone was doing training. And this is when I felt like I was actually diagnosed in that year with severe depression. And that's ironic because someone who's teaching well-being gets diagnosed with severe depression.
Yes.
And this is when it hit me, like, what was I doing all these years since 2014 until 2020? I was being successful, but I wasn't happy. Obviously, I was diagnosed with severe depression. And so for 3-4 months, I couldn't really leave the house. Obviously, it was quarantine, but I couldn't really feel like I want to get out of bed. And one of the people who were following me on Instagram, she sent me a direct message. She said, I feel like your posts are changing recently. I hope you're doing well, Hanan, because we're used to you being so happy and active. So I hope everything is fine. Please call this number. She's going to help you. And she gave me a number of a woman. Now, I don't know who that woman was, but I was so desperate. I needed to help. I couldn't get out of bed. I felt numb. I felt sick. My chest was paining. And I just can't really comprehend the pain. What should I be sad for COVID? Should I be sad for the world? My parents are separated. My business, where's the money? How am I going to survive? There were just so many things I haven't really, can't really deal with all of these things at the same time. And so I spoke to this woman and I told her, I don't know why I'm calling you. I just need help. And this for me was actually the first step to healing, because I've never really asked for help. And I've realized that in that moment that I've never really asked for help. Yeah. I was giving the help, but I've never really asked for help. And so this is when she started telling me things about myself, and this is when it happened. She started telling me why I'm attracting all these negative situations into my life. She started teaching me about the negative patterns and dysfunctional mindset that I had. She started teaching me so many things, and we can get into that in details.
Yes, I do, yeah.
But it was eye-opening.
Because I was going to ask you, when she was asking you those questions about attracting this sort of like negative, are these the things that then led to depression? Is that what it is?
Yes. So it was all the unconscious things that I was doing that obviously I wasn't conscious about. So what she was doing is bringing the unconscious to the conscious. So I can be aware and see why things are happening this way.
Yeah.
Because we co-create our reality.
Yeah.
Whether we accept this or not, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
So if you want to become more aware, if you want to become a happier individual, bring the unconscious to the conscious, which is called shadow work. So this was what I have been doing since 2020 until today.
Yeah. You know, because I'm so glad, Hanan, we're talking about this now, because I think maybe there are other people out there like myself who sometimes don't know the difference between, what's the difference between like burnout, exhausted, stressed, depressed? Like, how do you know where is it? Is it, it's because, if you have certain things, like if you've got diabetes or whatever, they check your blood, they can tell you, oh, hey, you've got this, whatever. But this is something, I think it's in the head, right? Or is there, so tell us if you know the difference, and also how is it measured? How do you get clinically diagnosed with depression?
Okay. Obviously, you have to go to a psychiatrist to actually give you tests and ask you a couple of questions and see what's going on with you. But from my experience and what I've read is that if you're feeling sad and burnt out and you don't want to leave the house and you're feeling closed off for 2 weeks and more, then these are the signs of depression.
Really?
For 2 weeks and more.
It happens to me every week. I always never want to go out. I only leave because people tell me to go out and say, otherwise, to be honest, I just want to watch Netflix and literally chill. I don't want to do nothing.
You might be doing quarantine, which is fine.
Because I don't know what it is. I'm always like, I actually don't. It's weird because I seem like a social butterfly. I actually hate going anywhere. If I don't have to go to those things, I would never leave the house. I would actually just sit and do nothing. But anyways, go on.
No, I get you. I actually found out that I was an introvert in 2020. And all my life I thought I was an extrovert, according to personality tests and psychology.
Yeah.
That's why it was giving me so much pressure when I went on stage and I did an amazing job. I felt drained afterwards.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really who I am. And that's why when I felt at ease and I felt relaxed and I felt I was flourishing when I was doing coaching, one-to-one conversations, because this is my zone. This is where I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But when I'm out with the public, I always felt drained. So there are tests you can do to get diagnosed. And there are physical symptoms. Like for me, I was feeling like I couldn't breathe well.
Yeah.
I was feeling chest pain. I was getting headaches every single day.
Yeah.
I felt like crying every single day, even though there's nothing happening at that moment, but everything was heightened. So I took everything in a personal way. And maybe sometimes one of the symptoms that you can get suicide thoughts, like you lose hope and you just don't want to continue with your life.
Yeah.
And I was experiencing all that, honestly.
Yeah.
Everything I was experiencing. And so that woman really helped me.
Wow.
She really opened my eyes to so many things that I didn't know.
Was she a psychiatrist?
She was actually an energy healer, and I didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah.
until I was actually feeling better after 6-7 months. That's why I was so into her methodology. Like, what did you do? This person used to trigger me for like 18 years. And after your session, I sit with that person and they no longer trigger me. What is happening? She's like, your energy is changing towards that person.
Interesting.
And this is when I started getting really interested about what she was doing. And it's called Theta healing, which is a brainwave. It's your Theta brainwave. And accessing that brainwave can actually help you tap into your subconscious mind, releasing all the negative limiting beliefs and replacing them with positive beliefs. So she was doing that. So then I started studying Theta healing because I felt like it was saving my life. And so as I was healing, people were coming to me asking for the same advice, and they were going through the same things I was going through. So I didn't really put the intention of me wanting to be or practicing my coaching certificate, but it was happening at the same time I was healing. I was helping other people and becoming their channel as well.
Yeah. Is Theta healing different or very different from like meditation?
So meditation is a sense of stillness, right? So I can just meditate right now. Just close my eyes and feel a sense of peace and maybe pay attention to how I'm feeling at the moment. Am I nervous? Where is the pain? What's happening here? It's a meditation. It's a sense of stillness. Theta healing is actually an energy modality. It is a meditative state where you're actually closing your eyes and there's a practitioner telling you, imagine this is happening, imagine this. When did this start? Why did this trigger you, for example? And then working with your trauma and working with whatever issue you are going through. Okay. But it's a meditative state. It's an energy modality.
And how long are you required to be doing that to say, okay, now I'm healed? Are you healed?
It's an ongoing process. This was one of my issues, actually. I don't want to disappoint people who are going through therapy, but it's actually very satisfying to know that this can actually be your lifestyle, just like exercise. Yeah. Like imagine telling someone you just need 3 months to exercise and then eat whatever you want. No, it doesn't work this way.
Okay. So it's a lifelong thing.
It's a lifelong thing. For me, it was because I didn't see it this way. In the first year, I was seeing it as, why is this issue keep arising, for example? Why am I not fully healed 100% from, for example, my father's unmet needs or wounds, for example? What's happening here? And so every time you heal a root cause, there's another root cause happening at the same time. Every time you shed light on one area, there's another area that is you need to address. So take it as a lifestyle, not like there's something wrong with you, you're broken and you need fixing.
Okay. So you did all of this during this mental health crisis and everything else, but then how, you obviously said like even for business it stopped. I remember you used to do the one-to-one coaching and everything else. So how did you transition then? Like did you have to go and get a job, and what happened with work? Like after you felt like, okay, you know what, the Theta healing is it's working on me now, I'm starting to improve. What did you do then for work?
Then I actually started doing Theta healing full-time as a job.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I opened my office in 2021.
Okay.
But this time it happened from a different place. It happened because I actually wanted to do it, because I felt the results on me and I wanted people to taste the results of and see what healing can actually do for you. I mean, you can actually flourish in your business, you can flourish with your family members, you can make better decisions for yourself, for your family, when you learn how to manage your anger, for example, when you learn why are you overprotective, why are you overjealous, why are you oversensitive, why are things happening the way they're happening. And so I started doing Theta healing as a full-time job and seeing clients and practicing, my coaching business. And I'm working on the 4th book now.
Oh, nice.
So yes, it's not yet published, but I'm working on it. Yeah. And I did actually work in a couple of places here and there for like part-time jobs, but I still felt like this is not me. I mean, if I quit when I was 24, obviously it's not going to work for me now.
Yeah. And when you were going through that process and everything else, like how did your family take it?
Okay, so in the beginning, it was very hard for them to accept, because when you live with someone, you're used to certain things about them. You're used to them thinking in a certain way, talking in a certain way, eating in a certain way, dressing in a certain way. And then they see you transform and change. So you're no longer accepted.
Yeah.
You no longer fit.
Yeah.
And
Everything's foreign to them.
everything's foreign to them and to you
Yeah.
who is healing.
Yeah.
And so nobody talks about this, the grief stage that comes with the healing journey. There's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of, I don't belong here. Like, what happened? Why am I in this place? Why was I programmed on these limiting beliefs? It's because of these limiting beliefs that I haven't had good opportunities, or I lost certain people because of these limiting beliefs. So this is when humility comes into place, and
Yeah.
start replacing that resentment and anger into compassion to yourself,
Yeah.
because you didn't know any better, and to them because they're in a different awareness. So you need to be aware not to judge them and to judge yourself. So there's a lot of practice. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But then when they started seeing that I was becoming a different person after 2-3 years,
Yeah.
this is when they were actually curious. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
What did you do? Why are you so calm now? Oh, this used to trigger you. But not every family will accept. Not every family will accept. And sometimes they'll remind you of your past. You're trying so hard to heal something
Yeah.
in you, and then they'll try to trigger you just because they miss that old person.
Yeah. You know, drivers in Dubai trigger me. I get really mad. Do I need like healing? Do I need like Theta healing or something?
I
Because
mean,
I honestly
why?
feel like sometimes I want to just crash my car into them.
So
Is
because
that something wrong with? Is there something wrong with me?
are they driving slow or are they driving
No, they're
fast?
just
What's
driving like
happening?
idiots. Like, you know. Well, unfortunately we have like the worst drivers in this place. So, but seriously, is it something that, you know, I need to like heal to like manage this anger? That's the thing, because sometimes I feel like the more we're told to hold it off, like I feel sometimes it makes it gets me even more angry. I'm like, why do I not have this place to just vent, to allow it to come out? Like everything's always like, no, like hold
Yeah.
it in. And this is one, but also I want to tell you, because I remember if I felt like I would say that it's depressed, but I don't know if it was depression or not. But you know what your parents usually tell you: go pray.
Yeah.
You know what? You need God. Go pray.
Yeah.
That's the.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
how do you address this?
I love what you said. There's two things here. First of all, nobody taught us how to be angry in a healthy way.
Interesting.
Nobody taught us that.
Yeah.
They taught us that anger is shameful.
Yeah.
And this was why I crashed in 2020, because I felt like I had so much anger inside of me. It was repressed.
Yeah.
Because being brought up as a girl, like in this society,
Exactly.
you can't really
raise your
talk.
voice.
You can't raise your voice.
Yeah.
You can't talk if your dad is there.
Yeah.
If your uncle is there. If your brother is there. You don't say anything. Shh. You know,
Yeah.
Abe,
Yes.
you're a girl.
Abe.
Abe,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
a girl.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I learned to suppress my anger. So anytime I felt like I'm angry, no, this is bad. It's gonna not make me a good woman, because if I'm angry, my mom
Yeah.
is not gonna validate me.
You have to act and speak gracefully.
That's why I was yes, and that's why I was so angry. But then with healing, I learned how to express my anger in a very healthy way. Anger is actually a very healthy emotion if expressed in the right way, because anger means your boundaries are being crossed.
Yeah.
Something is happening that is not aligned with your values, so it's
Yeah.
good to address it, but in a healthy way.
What
and the
is-
second point,
yeah.
what did you say about
Yeah,
yes,
about you need to go pray and this and that's it. Yeah.
Tara, that's the thing. Being depressed, there's imbalances in your brain's chemicals. It's actually a thing. So just like when you have diabetes, for example, they wouldn't tell you go, for example, pray.
Yeah.
They tell you go get some medical checkup, you know, you need insulin, you need these things. Or if you have liver failure, or if you have stomach pain, or if you have your colon,
Yeah.
you need medication. You need, obviously, to get treated.
Yeah.
Depression is the same thing. Now, spirituality and praying, obviously, it helps. But if there's some imbalances in your brain chemicals, you need to get that fixed.
Okay. So I want to ask you this. Now that you've gotten to this level of awareness and you're doing now Theta healing and everything else, what's this fourth book about? Are you allowed to tell us also the name of the book?
Yes. It's actually about the name. I still haven't come up with the name, actually.
When is it coming out though? Do you know?
Yani hopefully by the end of this year or 2024.
When you say end of this year, you mean like Sharjah Book Fair?
Inshallah.
Okay,
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
But it's about the spiritual journey that I've been through.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really
And
cool.
because I really feel like not a lot of people are speaking about this. Because
Yeah.
like you said, And the things about praying, the things about, you're a Muslim, this is all you need.
Yeah.
Just read Quran
Yeah,
and pray. And I am with that. I'm not
Yeah.
against that.
But there is more. And you're allowed to
There is
apply
more.
science.
Of course, and you're allowed to say, why is this person triggering me? I have been attracting, for example, a narcissist for the past 17 years of my life. I need to understand the root cause. What is it in me that is attracting those people? I need to fix that so I can actually have a better choice in men or friendships. So this is what healing is about. It's gaining a deeper understanding into yourself. It's embodying your light side and your dark side. Because even as women, they taught us that you always have to be light and you always have to be smiling.
Yeah.
You always have to be, accommodating and good. You can't get angry. You can't express how you feel or say something that you don't like. Otherwise, it's going to be, perceived in a different way. But this is why healing is so powerful, because Omar, it's integrating both your light side and your dark side. You become fearless because you're actually putting the light on the things that were suppressed all your lives, on your anger, on your traumas, or your unhealed wounds, on your unmet needs, for example. You had an unmet need when you were 6, 7 years old. You needed affection, you needed physical touch, you needed to express yourself freely. But every time you painted on the wall, your parents were hitting you, for example. Don't paint on the wall. Or don't eat these cookies. These cookies are meant for guests, not for you. So as a child, I'm not aware. I'd understand that, anytime I have a cookie that is not mine, I get punished. So anytime I make a mistake, I am not loved. So I grow up to be a perfectionist, avoiding mistakes all my life. Therefore, when I avoid mistakes so much, maybe I'm also not tapping into my full potential because I'm avoiding something. So we're either avoiding something or we're defending something.
Yeah. So you talked about how your family, for them, it was very strange to adopt to this. I mean, it was sort of that negative, clash within the house. But then, what about from the community? How do you deal with what you're talking about and how the community responds to what you do? I'll be very honest, and we talked about this several times. Hanan, I said that for me, when I talk about self-help and everything else, I sort of stayed away from speaking about things in Arabic because in the Arabic community, a lot of the times I feel like there's a little bit more criticism and we're held into account even higher than in other communities. So then I shied away. You are stronger than me and you've done that. And how do you deal with the feedback?
After my healing journey and what changed? I love your question because I haven't really did introspection on that per se, but I felt like it was two sides. So there were the people that didn't like how I changed physically. I mean, how I started wearing, for example, open abayas, speaking with boldness. I was better than before in terms of expressing my truth, expressing who I am, saying the things that I believe in, but they weren't really commenting negatively. For example, I didn't really see negative comments, but I lost followers. So maybe it's because of that, maybe it's because I wasn't active. I'm not really sure. Can't really measure that.
Interesting.
But I gained different audience who were actually resonating with my story.
Yeah.
And those audience actually turned into my clients, and they turn into really loyal people who believe in my message. So it depends.
Okay.
It depends.
So aside from dealing with all these negative comments, like you as an entrepreneur, like how have you found this journey? Like, is it something that you said to yourself, because you and I kind of like started around the same time in this
it was
whole entrepreneurship phase.
2014.
Yeah, we were like, we want to do our own thing and everything else. Do you feel confident now after all this time with everything that's going on? With there's financial crises or economic crises with COVID, this and everything else, and then this emotional crises that we go through. Like, what is your biggest learnings and what's your biggest advice?
Love that. I really haven't tapped into, by the way, when it comes to healing also, there's a big money aspect that you work with.
Yeah.
Because, for example, as an educator, as a teacher, we were taught that, you can't get paid, for example, because you are serving the community.
Yeah.
So then I need to integrate that into an entrepreneur. For example, I have office rent I need to pay.
Yeah.
So how am I going to keep, spreading that message of love and peace and positivity, and at the same time building my business?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of conflict I had to deal with. So all my life, the struggle was within me, within these limiting beliefs, for example. So I did work on money beliefs. And at the same time, what I learned, Omar, is that you can make something work if you learn the way, if you learn the system, if you learn personal branding, if you learn marketing techniques, if you learn social media, if you learn these things that make you a successful, for example, business owner or an entrepreneur. But at the same time, does this thing work for you? That's the question. It worked for me, the training and being on stage. It worked. It really worked. I've followed the book. I've done everything right. I worked on my personal brand. I started getting paid. I worked on my proposals. Everything was amazing. But does it work for me? Do I feel good doing it? So what I've learned is that, yes, something can work and it can look successful, but it doesn't really make me feel at ease. Yeah. And then this is when you have to be really bold and courageous. I will sacrifice a very high-paying job, and I just did. Very high-paying job, very amazing title. But for something minimum, for example, you can get 30,000 a month, but you're not happy. Yeah. But everyone looks at you as if you're happy. And you can get 5,000 a month and you're very happy. So which one do you choose? And it's not easy, by the way, to get the 5,000 because there are obligations. Oh, obviously, it's a very expensive country. There's so many things you have to pay.
Yeah.
You have to pay for breathing, everything you have to pay.
5,000 is like a day now. You can't go.
Exactly.
And they just increase oil prices starting today. Yeah. So good luck with driving. Yeah.
So it's a choice.
Yeah.
But this is what I feel like success truly means to me. Yeah. It's having the choice. To work on your talents.
I love that.
And then bringing that talent that feels good to you and being of service to the world. So it's having the choice.
I love that. Thank you, Hanan. That was very, very insightful. There's a lot that we shared. I know there's a lot that we can talk more, but just for final words, do you have any last minute advice for people out there who are struggling internally and want to get out of this deep hole?
Yes. Speak up. Speak up, because the sooner you speak up, the better you're going to feel. It's not worth repressing all these negative emotions and traumas that you have for 20, 30 years, because the effects are going to be huge, not just on your mental state, also on your physical state. People are getting sick. Yeah. And when you go to the doctor, and when I used to go to the doctor, by the way, I used to do x-rays for my chest, and he said, there's nothing wrong with you, but I still feel this pain. Yeah. So obviously it's something else that I have to address. Yeah. So speak up. Find someone who doesn't judge you. It doesn't have to be a Theta healer. It can be a coach. It can be a best friend. It can be a sister. It can be a parent if you trust that they will not judge you. They will have that safe space for you. But speak up, because that's how you flourish, and that's how you become more productive, and that's how you actually honor yourself. At the end of the day, we are here to evolve, and you can't really evolve and transform into your best authentic self if you have issues that you haven't really worked with yet. Yeah. And everything has a solution. Everything has a solution.
Thank you so much, Hanan, for joining Zeno Talks. I know we don't have enough time to continue what we have to talk about, but this is the first of many more series. We're going to have a lot more chats, and I know a lot of people will have more questions. So good luck with your 4th book.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best. I know it's going to be another bestseller as usual. And thank you for joining Zeno Talks.
Thank you for having me, Omar.
Anytime.
Thank you.